Don Memorial Health says that 10% of the people coming into the emergency rooms are being seen for shortness of breath and respiratory issues. And one doctor I spoke with says that these wildfires and smoke needs to be taken seriously. Shelby, they told me they came here for a trip but left with a trauma they can't shake. And now their focus is helping their friends survive and finding out who hit them. Savannah isn't on fire, but the smoke in the sky serves as a reminder of how these wildfires can impact your health even when it's just miles away. Yeah, Shelby, these two shootings happened about 22 hours apart and just down the road from each other. And one witness told me he thought he was hearing firecrackers until he saw the blood. Yeah, Shelby, if you're on spring break along the coast, you might want to think twice before you jump in, especially after speaking with one spring breaker. Shelby, Animal Services tells me the animals were removed after a welfare complaint. While most of them are in good health, officers say they were being kept in conditions they called unsafe. Yeah, Shelby, they both told me the hardest part was not knowing after hours passing with no clear timeline while fire conditions shut down parts of the route. It started with black smoke outside the window, then a dead stop near DeLand, Florida. Savannah native Meg Pace says she and her husband were on Amtrak train 98 heading home when wildfires in North Florida halted train traffic.
We kind of looked over and we're like, wow, that is a lot of really black smoke. So I'm glad we've stopped. You know, what's happening here.
Pace says the wait dragged on, and what frustrated passengers the most was the lack of updates.
You know, there just really wasn't any information flowing. So no one really knew what was happening. No one knew how long we were going to be there.
It was a nightmare after a certain point.
Maldonado says hours passed. People started worrying about basic needs.
There's no food now. We can't use the bathroom.
And Pace says it got more serious when some passengers needed medical help.
Now that we'd been on the train for, almost 24 hours, people were running out of medications, so they were calling 911.
Maldonado say they were so close to DeLand, but he and Pace say the train still wouldn't move. And he says after waiting, he and his brother made a decision to get off and walk, even after he says they were warned against it.
Grabbed my bag from the overhead on the top. He grabbed the shoes. I went ahead, walked right on up to the door, pulled the latch down, pulled the next latch, took my backpack off, threw it down on the tracks, and jumped off.
Maldonado says they eventually got an Uber and made it back home to New York. Pace says she stayed on board until a new engineer arrived. And after several more hours, the train reversed back to DeLand, where she and her husband booked a flight back to Savannah. And I reached out to Amtrak to confirm the passengers' claims about food, restrooms, access, and refunds, and still waiting for a response. Live in the studio, Stephen Glover, WTOC News.
Think about some make a firecracker, some like on a prop somewhere. But when I come the blood and some customer came inside and he's saying like somebody shot.
This comes in after two shootings on the same road on the same day. On April 2nd, around 12:30 a.m., yellow crime scene tape wrapped the Thunderbird Motel on Ogeechee Road. Chatham County Police found a woman shot. CCPD say the woman was injured after someone shot through her motel room during a fight with people outside of her room. Law enforcement say the gunman left the scene but was later located by Savannah police. Then 22 hours later, at the 3700 block of Ogeechee Road, just down the road from the Thunderbird Motel, law enforcement were called to another shooting. Hardy Patel says he was working his normal shift at the Marathon gas station across the street and thought he heard fireworks going off. Soon later, he says a man shot in the arm ran over for help.
And he said just can you call the ambulance, and I just help him out. I called the 911 and make sure he be all right. I a little bit scared. I scared.
Savannah police say they have arrested 47-year-old Devon Green in connection with that second shooting. And Chatham County Commissioner Tanya Milton says the violence is becoming far too common.
It's gone rampant. It's just gone rampant to have two shootings back to back in the 5th District. And it's not just the 5th District, it's all over town, and it's all over the country.
And Green has been charged with aggravated assault, possession of a firearm during the commission of a felony, and possession of a firearm by a convicted felon. The investigation for both shootings is still ongoing. Live in the newsroom, Stephen Glover, WTOC. Early Sunday morning, Palmetto Bay Road near Dunnigan's Alley, a busy stretch on Hilton Head, became the scene of a hit and run. NC State sophomore Braden Bolger was walking with friends across the road when they say a vehicle hit him and kept going.
And we just see him like get hit and just go flying, and then he skidded like probably like 15 to 20 feet. Then we ran to him. He was like flipped over. And then we like flipped him up, and then like his face was all bloody and like his knees were ripped, like everything. But it was pretty rough.
Bolger's a finance student at NC State, and his Sigma Phi Epsilon brothers say he's the kind of guy who shows up for everyone.
Positive all the time, smart guy, one of the higher GPAs in the fraternity.
I would say everyone in SIGAP knew Braden. They all loved him. He was one of the first kids I met.
The accident left Bolger severely injured, where he's currently seeking treatment in the hospital. And they wanted to help his family with what comes next. That's why they started a GoFundMe that's already raised more than $40,000.
You know, Braden's in the hospital. He's not coherent right now. We just thought of anything that could really help him, and this seemed like the best idea.
Bolger's friends said that morning they didn't even hear a car come by.
And I never even saw a car.
But security footage did at a business across the street. And now the South Carolina Highway Patrol is looking for the driver of a silver or gray SUV. And now his friends have a message for the person they say left him there.
Turn yourself in. I don't know how you can live with this conscience of doing this to someone. He could have killed someone that day.
And South Carolina Highway Patrol tells me the hit and run investigation is still active. If you have information, troopers ask you to contact them. Live in the studio, Stephen Glover, WTOC News.